Welcome to The Explainer. For the longest time, there's been this dream that technology could bring perfect, crystal clarity to the chaos of war. And now, with AI stepping onto the battlefield, that dream feels closer than ever. But what if AI doesn't get rid of the age-old challenges of warfare? What if it just transforms them? All right, to really get into this, we have to go back. I'm talking almost 200 years back to the legendary military theorist Karl von Clausewitz. He gave us this incredibly powerful concept for understanding why war is just so darn unpredictable. He called it friction. So what is this friction he's talking about? Well, for Clausewitz, it's basically everything that can and will go wrong. It's that huge, messy gap between a beautiful plan on paper and the chaotic reality of a firefight. It's the fog, it's chance, it's equipment breaking down, and it's simple human error making the easiest tasks almost impossible when the pressure's on. And for decades, the dream has been to use technology to just erase this friction. AI is supposed to be the ultimate version of that dream, right? To process data at superhuman speeds, to have perfect precision, and to finally lift the fog of war once and for all. Okay, but here's where it gets really interesting. This is the big twist, the core idea we're digging into today. AI doesn't actually get rid of friction. Nope, it just changes it. It morphs it into something new, and maybe even more complicated. And that brings us to this brand new concept, algorithmic friction. Think of it as a new kind of fog of war, one that's ironically created by the very systems that were supposed to clear it away. Suddenly, the problem isn't a lack of information, it's being buried in it. It's about AI models making recommendations we can't understand and building these incredible, powerful systems that are also dangerously fragile. So, how does this new kind of friction actually show up on the battlefield? Well, let's break it down into three main types. We're talking informational, algorithmic, and organizational friction. Okay, first, informational friction. This one's been turned completely on its head. The classic problem in war was always not having enough intel, scarcity, right? Well, today, it's the exact opposite. It's saturation. We're literally drowning in data from every sensor, drone, and social media feed you can imagine. It's way more than any human can possibly process. And the big danger there is that we start chasing speed over truth, making decisions faster than we can even tell if the information is any good. All right, next up is the friction that's baked right into the algorithms themselves. This is fascinating. For instance, you could have an AI that's an absolute genius at spotting targets in the desert, but you drop it into a forest? It's useless. That's a classic case of training data bias. Or what if the rules of engagement suddenly change? An AI's entire strategy could just become obsolete in an instant. And then you've got the biggest one, opacity, the black box problem. If an AI tells a commander, hey, do this, but it can't explain why, how on earth can that commander trust it with lives on the line? And that brings us to the third type, organizational friction. Our reliance on AI pushes us towards this very tempting idea. Let's build one giant, all-knowing data hub where everything connects. Sounds great, right? But someone like Clausewitz would look at that and see a massive bullseye. That hub immediately becomes what he called a Schwerpunkt, a center of gravity. It's the enemy's #1 target. You take that out with one good hit, and the whole command system could just fall apart.
So if we can't get rid of friction, and it's pretty clear we can't, what's the next move? Well, the answer isn't to keep fighting this impossible battle. The real strategy is to learn how to shape it, to turn it to our advantage.
And the way to do that is by engineering something called constructive friction. It sounds counterintuitive, right? But the idea is to deliberately, and I mean intentionally, build pauses into our automated systems. These aren't just frustrating delays. They're carefully designed moments for a human to step in, to validate the data, to think about the morality of an action, to apply critical judgment exactly when and where it's needed most.
And this is a huge shift in mindset. For so long, the goal has been to build the perfect, unbreakable system, but that's a fool's errand. It's just not possible. The new goal, the smarter goal, is to design systems that can degrade gracefully. A system that can take a hit, get jammed up, lose a few pieces, but still keep functioning is infinitely more valuable than some perfect glass cannon that shatters at the first sign of trouble.
This really lays out the two paths you can take. On one side, you've got that centralized data fabric, that single hub we were just talking about. It's a huge single point of failure. But the other option is a distributed or mosaic architecture. And that's way more resilient. Think about it. If you have a mosaic and you knock out a few tiles, you can still see the whole picture, right? It's the same idea here. Your strength comes from your ability to mix and match and recombine whatever capabilities you have left on the fly. Which, of course, brings us to the most crucial piece of the entire puzzle, the human being. In a world of military AI, there's a new moral imperative, and it's something called calibrated trust. You can't just order people to trust these automated systems. That trust has to be earned. It's earned when the systems prove they're reliable, and it's earned when commanders prove they know how to use them wisely. So how do you build that trust? It really comes down to embedding 3 critical habits into the culture. First is literacy. Commanders have to understand what their AI can do, but just as importantly, what it can't do. Second, you need a culture of dissent. Leaders have to actively reward people for challenging the machine's conclusions, for poking holes in its logic. And third, and this is non-negotiable, ownership. The human commander is always morally responsible for an action. You can never blame the code. Okay, so let's put it all together. What's the bottom line here? What does all this actually mean for the future of command? The single most important thing to take away from all this is simple. Speed is not a strategy. In this new age of AI, human judgment doesn't become less important. It becomes more critical than ever before. Rushing a decision cycle just for the sake of speed doesn't get you a win. It just helps you make bigger mistakes faster. And what that means in practical terms is that we have to build human accountability into these systems from the ground up. It means mandating that a human being has to give the final go for any lethal action. It means making algorithmic literacy a non-negotiable core skill for every leader. It means designing for resilience, just assuming that parts of your network will fail. And it even means learning how to write a commander's intent so clearly that both your human soldiers and your AI partners can understand it. So we'll leave you with this final crucial question. In a war driven by AI, where exactly does the machine's logic stop and the commander's moral responsibility begin? Because as our machines get smarter and faster, those uniquely human burdens, moral courage, critical thinking, and ultimate accountability, they don't fade away. They become heavier than ever.